What's going on? Marcus Miller here. I'm at Chicago Music Exchange in where? Chicago, exactly. And we're getting ready to do a bass clinic and hang out with some bass players and explain to them stuff about bass the way I see it. But we're also introducing Sire guitars, Sire basses, the Marcus Miller model. The Music Exchange has agreed to be the supplier in this area, so I'm really happy about that. But I haven't had a chance to make a video about this bass. I've just been letting the bass do the talking, and other people have actually got on YouTube and the internet, and they've been making videos, and they've been saying great things, and they've been saying all the things that I would have said. But I figured I'm here, and there's a camera there with a cool dude moving it on the little cool, pan track. So I figured I might as well take the opportunity to play it. The idea with this bass was that these cool Korean guys came up to me and said, "Hey, Marcus, we can make a bass that's the same quality as your bass and make it real inexpensively." And I said, yeah, right. And then they showed me the bass. And although it wasn't exactly what I would have wanted, it was really good. And I got excited because the thing for me was young musicians. Parents are always coming up to me and saying, "Marcus, my kid says they want to play the bass, but I don't want to spend, $12, $13, $14, $1,500, and then the next week the kid decides they'd rather play PlayStation, right? I don't want to waste all that money." So now I said this would be a great way because these basses were only going to cost $300, $400, $500, right? So I said, man, what parent's not going to do that to give their kid a chance? A kid might end up loving the bass, right? So that's what we did. We decided to design this thing, and I gave my input. We messed around with pickups. We messed around with string spacing, with bridges, with the preamp and stuff. And we got something that I felt comfortable with enough to put my name on it. So this one is called the V7, right? And it's based on the jazz bass style, right? And if I had to explain it, it sounds like an old school jazz bass, but with a little modern thing on it, okay? The real modern basses to me, they don't have the body. You know what I mean? They sound really nice and clear, and they sound really good in the music store, but as soon as you get in a band, the drummer's looking at you like, dude, I need a bass player. You know what I mean? I hear all the pops, but I don't hear any of the booty, right? So if you listen to this bass, I'm gonna play a little bit, but make sure you got headphones on, man, because the worst thing is to listen to bass on your little computer speakers or on your phone, okay? Put on some headphones so you can hear that this bass not only has the modern top thing, but it also has that full body thing. Check it out. So you hear it, it has the highs, it has the lows. And what's cool about it is it has this preamp section. So I'm going to describe this for you. I'm going to explain this for you. We have the volume, right? Underneath the volume is an overall tone. If you have a passive bass, this controls the tone, right? So no matter if you have the preamp on or you have the preamp off, this tone controls the overall sound, so you can make it brighter or darker. This one is the pickup select, so check it out. This is the neck pickup. Real throaty and real full, right? For reggae, for rock, for anything that needs a deep bass. The other pickup is the bridge pickup that gives you that tight sound. So you hear it has a little nasal, little tight sound, but when you're playing finger style, it can really make the notes pop out. And you don't have to choose one or the other. You can have like both on. Here's the sound with both on. If you want the regular, normal sound, but with just a little bit more bite, you just back off towards the back pickup a little bit. So this is half and half. Here's a little bit more pickup. Right? So if you're playing one of those old classic disco lines, you know, right? So you get a little bit of tightness, but you still get the fullness. So that's the pickup selector. There's this pickup, there's this pickup. You can't see it because this pickup cover is on the bass. And everybody wants to know what this pickup cover is for. And what this pickup cover does is it creates a magnetic field between the pickup and this piece of metal, and it makes the sound like extra. No, I'm just joking. This thing doesn't do anything, okay? Leo Fender, when he first invented Fender basses, he didn't like the look of the microphones, of the pickups. So he put these metal things, he had one here, to cover them up so you wouldn't see them. People started liking the tones that you can get when you pluck here, so they took this one off. Some people take that one off because they like the tone. I started in the 70s when I was 13 years old. I didn't know you were allowed to take stuff off the bass. I thought that was against the rules. So I learned to play with this thing on the bass, and now I can't play without it. Well, I can play, but I feel much more comfortable with this thing. My palm hits it, I know where the strings are. So that's what this is for. Okay, so we got the two pickups. Next, treble. You know what that does. Be very careful with it. You can give people a headache, haircut, okay? This one all the way on the end, I'm gonna skip this one for a minute. This one is the bass. You know what that does. If you got your headphones on, you heard that. The bass is killing, right? Okay, now, this one is the mid-range. Two knobs. This one chooses which mid-range frequency you want to deal with. And this one chooses how much or how little of it you want, okay? So what I mean is this. Listen to this. Here's the mid-range, like I'm choosing low mid-range, right? Over here, right? Listen to this. Okay, that's low mids. So if you're in a gymnasium and it's real boomy and you don't want to give a lot of bass because it's muddying up things, pull the bass back and deal with just the low mids. Sounds a little thin now, but when you get into that gym, which is supplying its own low end, you're gonna be happy you did it. Okay, here's the next mid-range, moving it up a little bit. Listen to this frequency. So what that's for is when you're playing fingerstyle and you want to get a little bit of meat out of your notes, check it out. This is without it. Here's with it. Okay, I'll move up the mid-range ladder, right? Here's another frequency, check it out. You hear that nasal thing? Now, it's not a pretty sound, but if you use a little bit of it when you're playing fingerstyle, sometimes it'll help your notes. Check it out. Think of a bass line. Right? So it just gives a little nasal thing, which isn't pretty by itself, but sometimes when the band is playing, the drummers, the hi-hats and all that stuff, you can use a little bit of that. And then you go up the mid-range a little bit more, listen to this frequency. Right? So you get a little bit more treble now, and that's for when you need to cut through a little bit. Again, it might be a little harsh by itself, but sometimes you need that. So here's a little bit more. Okay, you get the idea? So that's what the frequency, the mid-range thing does. Be careful with it, don't overdo it, but just use it to fine-tune your sound. Okay, so what I like about this bass is you can really go anywhere you want. You can be a beginner, not spend a lot of money. You can get the basics of the bass. It's a good quality bass. And as you get better, you don't have to go and buy a better bass because this thing will do the job for you. In fact, like I told you earlier, all the kids, we made this for all the students, but all the professionals are buying this thing. All the professionals I know, they say, hey man, yeah, I bought two. Actually, I'm gonna buy my third one next week because it's a good quality bass. Some guys have a 5-string they like and they want to have a 4-string. Some guys have a 4-string they like and they want to get a Sire 5 to round out their collection. So it's very cool. Here's some of the sounds you can do. Front pickup, a lot of bass, turn the treble down. So I'm playing muted, so it really makes it, his finger style over here, which is a deeper place to pluck the bass. Right, so you can go all the way from there to here. Check it out. Back pickup, little mid-range, right? So anyway, that's enough to get you started. They got a 5-string version. They got a vintage version, which has the cool blocks here, like they used to make in the 70s. They got 5-string. They got 4-string. They got an M3, which I'm going to do in another video. So stay tuned. But thank you for all the support. This bass is like going crazy. They call it a game changer. And I think that's a good name for it because everybody's excited. We got young girls, young guys playing bass who might not have had an instrument in their hands otherwise. So again, thanks for the support. Marcus Miller out.